Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Jacob. This is Jacob Walks Over a Bridge. And this is me putting my creative writing degree to good use. Now, I hope you all enjoyed my first episode. It was an exciting thing to try. So I thought, why not do it again, yeah? It worked out so well for me the first time. Might as well give it another shot. Granted, I waited about 24 hours to give it another shot, but I think that was a suitable amount of time. You guys don't need 2 episodes a day, right? 1 episode is just fine. Maybe someday I'll do another one. Maybe save it for a day I'm walking over another bridge or something cool like that. But yeah, good morning. My morning. It's morning here. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to stare at the guy I talked about yesterday. The guy with the beard and the smallest e-bike known to man. Just sitting there, scrunched up, looking like he doesn't want to be here. Just passed him very early on, because I'm running a little bit later than usual. Ran into a few stop signs, construction and whatnot. But he's always a pleasure, one of the highlights of the bridge. It's interesting. I was thinking this morning about all the things I was going to talk about while I was walking here, and totally blanked now that I'm actually started. I guess I did listen to a little bit of what this sounds like. I didn't listen to the whole thing before I posted it. I know that sounds crazy to think that I'm citing this out into the wide world out there without even listening to if I sound good. I know I sound great, but I listened to bits and pieces here to see what traffic sounded like, what it sounded like when the subway was going overhead, and it seemed like it was good enough. You guys might have to turn your volume up a little bit to listen to it, but other than that, I think this is some quality radio, quality podcasting. It's funny, I never did like the sounds of my own voice. It never sounded like how it sounds in my head, which makes sense. It's that everyone has a different voice in their head than what everyone else hears. It's because you're hearing it before. I don't know how sound works necessarily, but I know there's some science behind why your voice sounds different when you're talking and when someone else is listening. So now when I'm listening to the subway go by and it's very loud, I don't want to be yelling at you guys. I don't even know if you guys can hear me right now. That's very loud. That's even a new train. Usually the older ones are the louder ones, but that one was a new end train, but it's very loud. Probably because it was just right next to me. Because I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday, but when the subways do go overhead for a bit, but then they kind of curve around so that way they're parallel with the bridge, and the bridge is pretty much where they go underground. So there's a point where they're right next to you. And that's a point where it gets probably the loudest for you listeners out there, wherever and whenever you may be. But back to the sound of my own voice. I never liked it because it never sounded like how I think I sound. And it just never was something I enjoyed. I never enjoyed listening to myself. I don't know why you guys enjoy listening to me. I think I sound weird. But hey, to each their own. I remember even thinking, when I was younger, we had at our house we had a camcorder, and I was trying to be a young, intrepid videographer. I was taking videos of everything, asking people questions, interviewing them, and I used to think that the camcorder was broken because why do I sound different? That's not how I sound, but alas, it was not the camcorder that was broken, it was my idea of sound itself. So I now know that's how I really sound. If you played me 3 clips of 3 different people talking and myself and asked me to pick myself out, I might have difficulty doing that. I listen to myself so infrequently that's the case. Maybe now that I'm doing this thing, it won't necessarily be so, but I think that I sound okay now that I'm not 6 and think that whatever's recording me is broken. Now, if you, my favorite listeners out there, can give me 1 second, I lied. I almost dropped my phone. I'm coughed. Oh no, there's no way to edit that out. I'm sorry you had to hear that. The SoundCloud account not only has the option to add the profile picture, which I made to be the view of that Roosevelt cable car that goes from Roosevelt Island to Manhattan proper. I made that the profile picture that's the view from the bridge. Also, you get a good view of the water there. But it also gives you the option for a cover photo. And I guess there's this view of the bridge that I've only taken on Snapchat when I used to use that app. And I've never actually taken with a real camera before. So now I'm going to try to take a nice photo of a good spot of the bridge that I think looks pretty. It'll only take a moment. I'm going to take a landscape and portrait and see which one looks better when I get on the app. I'm going to wait till this guy walking towards me passes me so it doesn't look like I'm taking a picture of him, because I know there are people out there who don't like their picture taken by strangers, let alone anyone. Alright, that guy has passed, and I think I am close enough to the good spot that I want to get to. Open up the camera app. Yeah. Alright. Landscape. Portrait. Boom. Got my pictures. I'm not one of those guys who says boom very often. That was an anomaly, though. There are times that I do like to add sound effects to things. If I sit down, I'll go whoop. Maybe it's from all the cartoons I've watched, but sometimes, just go wee, or maybe if I'm on an escalator, I'll do that, because that's the best part about going to any place is the escalator ride, because then you get to do when do we get to the ride? This is the ride. I do that way too often. And not everyone wants to watch The Fairly Odd Parents to the point where they can understand those minor references to minor moments in the show, though I don't know. I think that was probably one of the major moments in the show. It's certainly a classic. I think they're still making episodes, but I think the earlier episodes are, at least the ones, of course, the ones I watched as a kid are the best. So I can't say for sure either way. So Fairly Odd Parents. Well, that's good times watching that show. That's a funny story. The first time I ever walked over this bridge, I remember clearly, it was April of 2016. It was the weekend. I think the subway wasn't really running, and I had nothing else to do that day. So I thought, why not try it? I had been living in Queens for about 2 or 3 months or so, and I thought, if the subway's ever shut down for good, or there's another transit strike or something like that, I should know how to walk into Manhattan, because I'll probably need to do that in case of an emergency. Funny how that turned out. Well, I guess we are living in a state of emergency these days. But yeah, so I set out. I had Google Maps on my phone. I had no idea how to get here. So it was fairly easy, especially from where I was living. You just you walked. That was from Sunnyside, Queens. You walk probably on Skillman for a bit, and then you turn on to Northern Boulevard. It's all fun and games, really. I had no idea what I was doing to the point where I totally missed the entrance ramp for pedestrians. Google Maps didn't really tell me how to get onto the bridge. It just said, here's the bridge, walk over it. So I was on the wrong side of the bridge, A. And I thought, I have no idea where this is, I'm just going to keep walking straight. So I made it to the water, thinking, okay, maybe there's going to be like some staircase eventually that I'll get onto and be able to walk up. There's no staircase, it's just water. We got to see the park for the first time. I think that's the only time I've ever been in that park, and it's nice at the foot of the bridge. I can see it now from my very, very high up angle. It would be silly to think that there were stairs coming up here from there. But there's softball fields, there's a nice little river walkway. It's right by some power plant, which looms over it. Not so menacingly per se, but just looms. The park itself, it's nice, but it's not the way to get to the bridge. So then I backtracked to get, okay, maybe I go back to where the smart thing, which was to go back to where the cars go onto the bridge and see where to go. While I was doing that, I was wearing a Mets hat then, mind you. I was passed in a car by two guys wearing Kansas City Royals hats. And for some context, this was the season after the Mets and the Royals had played in the World Series and the Royals had won. And the two guys rolled down their windows and had to yell at me, "Mets suck," which of course I know, but I didn't really want to hear it from those guys. At the time I just kind of laughed and shooed them off, but I should have just said, like, you're in Queens, you can't say that, it's one thing if I was in, Missouri having some Kansas City barbecue. I don't know if the barbecue's better on the Missouri side of Kansas City or the Kansas side of Kansas City. Are they two separate cities? Like I know you always hear about whether you're on the Missouri one or the Kansas one, but is it just the same city cut down the middle, or do they have like two different versions that are just like right next to each other? That's always been a mystery to me that I've never felt like actually looking up, but it's something I'd probably find interesting for the moment you tell me. So those guys were annoying. So I let them go. I didn't stop them. I didn't try to fight them. They were two guys in the car and just me walking. It wasn't really a fair fight. So I eventually did find the walkway. It was on the other side, right by where the cars go on. For all the kids out there who want to go, it's the right side if you're walking towards the water. The right side of the bridge. That's the way up. Ended up walking over, and I was tired. I guess if you weren't expecting such a long walk, it is a kind of long walk. It's a couple miles, maybe 2.5, 3 miles from where I was in Queens to the other side of the bridge. Granted, I think I'm almost equidistant. I'm in a different neighborhood now, but I think I mapped it out, and it's almost the exact same distance from my current apartment to the bridge to my old apartment to the bridge, which just happened by chance. I wasn't planning that or anything, but it's just a funny coincidence. The walk over was fine, but it tired me out to the point where I was like, I'm taking the subway home. I didn't want to walk back over that bridge. Plus I was wearing old sneakers, and that didn't help because that made my feet hurt a little bit. That was a fun adventure, at least that day, and it gave me the intel that A, I can walk over the bridge, and B, I knew where it was, and C, I needed to wear better shoes. So now whenever I walk over the bridge, I'm wearing decent shoes. I'm not wearing my nice boat shoes or other nice work attire per se, but I definitely, if the weather's cold enough and I'm not going to be sweating too much, I'll wear my regular work outfit and like sneakers. If it's going to be too hot, I know that just me walking is going to make me sweat through whatever. I'll wear some burner clothes and then bring an extra pack of deodorant. No one's complained yet about my smell, so I'm going to ride it until I guess it becomes unbearable for whoever sits next to me. But yeah, so that was April 2016. Now we're gonna fast forward in time a little bit to what, let's just say, was September 1st, 2016. I had a half day at work that day because I had a dentist appointment at 9:45 in the morning. And my monthly MetroCard had expired the day before. So here I was with a decision to make. Was I going to just re-up the MetroCard and dwell my way, or was I going to walk over the bridge? I've been thinking, I guess ever since doing it the first time, the idea had always been in my head, like, oh, I can walk to work. Let me try doing this. So, MetroCard expiring, plus the kind of late dentist appointment. I mean, it wasn't late per se. It was 9:45. I guess I'd been getting into work probably around 8:45, 9 o'clock every day. So I slept in for a little while. But I said, screw it, I'm walking. So I woke up a little bit earlier, and I did it. I walked. Well, I guess what even made matters worse, what made me almost not do it, was the fact that it was a little rainy that day. I had my umbrella. It was drizzling on and off. So I thought, if I could do this in the rain, which I did, doing it when it's nice out will be no problem. And so I did that year, from September to I think December. I did it for such a long time. I walked to work almost every day and walked home too. When it was kind of nice out, maybe when not necessarily nice out, but like when it was light out is what I wanted to say. Like it's kind of weird, at least the other side, the Queens side of the bridge at night, because you walk through a little bit of an industrial area. There's not really a lot of light, so kind of not really a place you want to be late at night necessarily, just because there's no one there. So when it's that dark out, pitch black, I tend to just take the train, and I get, it comes to the point with the shortening of the day in the wintertime where it just not become feasible to walk home from work. So I did half and half. I walked in, took the train back. But I did that for a while, and it was good. So then come the springtime, I started to do it. I wouldn't do it when it was too cold or too hot. Because if it, either way, it's awful. If it's too cold, I don't want to be bundled up, walking outside for an hour plus, about an hour and a half, let's say. Or if it's too hot, I don't want to be a hot, sweaty mess by the time I walk in the door. If it hurts to be outside, or just generally, words, it's early. If it's generally uncomfortable, I don't like to walk. That's just the way it is. And I guess we'll see how this season goes. I think it's a point too where I just get antsy now, because I won't walk when I have the monthly MetroCard costs way too much, to the point where I would rather use it than walk, because just I paid so much for it. Excuse me, something caught my throat. But as soon as that MetroCard's done, I'm walking. But it gets to the point too where, so let's say it was March 1st or something like that, and I had a decision to make whether I was going to get a monthly or start walking, and unfortunately the weather on March 1st was not ideal, and the forecast did not look ideal to the point where I don't think I'm going to be walking now. So I got the monthly last month, and then for the beginning of April, screw it, it's time. It doesn't matter. Who cares that it's still 30 degrees out in the morning? I want to walk, and I didn't want to have to wait for whenever. I could have gotten a weekly pass, but I think now that those so high, the cost of that is so high that I need to take the train like 3 times a day to make it work. Better deal than just paying full fare. Just swiping for the regular swipe. So it's finally now time to walk, and I'm happy to say that things are looking up. The weather is starting to get nice. Yesterday and this morning, it's still fairly cold in the 40s. If you do hear me sniffling on your end of the podcast, I'm sorry. It's better that than snot running down my face. Sorry if that's too much information, but I guess that's just what happens to everyone when it gets cold out and noses get runny. It's just the human nature, human biology, if you will. I never took much biology. The last biology class I took was in the 8th grade. I know that Mr. Ardito out there would be very proud of what I've accomplished in the world of pharmaceuticals with only an 8th grade understanding of biology, but I forgot where I was going with that. Probably something fun. There are times I do lose track of thought, and especially now that I'm talking for 20-25 minutes straight, it's probably going to happen from time to time. I'm not really a big talker necessarily. I'm sure people who know me might disagree about that, but generally I'm not a social butterfly so much as I'm not talking my head off. I don't go out that often. There's a chance I do go to a bar. Oftentimes I leave with a sore throat or just less of a voice than I came in with, just because I don't have much practice talking in bar. I don't have much experience. I don't know if that's something you can really be experienced at necessarily, but just the general yelling over the din of the music and other people, not really something that appeals to me. It's not something I'm necessarily good at either, so there's that double bit. So you'll have to forgive me at times while I am doing this. I'm not on a script. I'm off the cuff, just doing this straight. And as you know before, I kind of did plan some things in my head before coming, and then totally blanked once I hit the bridge. So I'm dealing with that. Well, I guess I do owe you guys an update. I am now at the end, if you will. I know I'm at the end because you get to the point where you are now walking beneath traffic. This bridge is fun. So the Queensboro Bridge has 2 levels. There's the main, the lower level where the pathway walks next to, and then there's the upper level, which is 1 level up. Traffic, they depending on the time of day, they change the traffic flow, going in and out of the city. But now it gets to the point where you get close to the end of the bridge that instead of being just over to the left, it's right over you as you enter in Manhattan, and that is where I am. That is the point of this journey, which means that I'm nearing the end. I had a great time doing this again, you guys. Love having the chance to chat. It's more of a one-way conversation at this point, but I'm sure eventually once this blows up, everyone's going to want to have a nice 2-way talk with me, and I always will appreciate that. But now it's time that I bid you adieu. It's been real. I'm looking now for where I keep the sound recording app. I found it. Now, I must say good day and good night.